Hi, everyone. Welcome to Divided Films, the podcast where we talk about movies that audiences and critics do not agree on. My name is JJ, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Keith.
Hello!
And today we have two guests, the lovely couple of Kyle and Colleen.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
How you guys doing today?
All right.
Not too bad. I got coffee ready.
All right, yeah. We always have a nice, hot, fresh cup of coffee for our guests if they so choose to have one. If they refuse, they must leave.
The hospitality is very hot and cold.
Yeah, exactly. So today we are talking about the 2004 romance, The Notebook, directed by, let's see if I can pronounce this name, Nick Cassavetes? Cassavetes. Well, I'm a jerk. And then written by Jeremy Levin and starring Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams. This movie falls into the category of having a rotten score with critics, 53% approval rating, and 85% fresh score from audiences. So critics didn't like it, audiences did. And the critics' consensus, it's hard not to admire its unabashed sentimentality, but The Notebook is too clumsily manipulative to rise above its melodramatic cliches. So, right off the top of the bat, what do you guys think of this divide between audience and critics, and what do you think of that consensus?
I think the word manipulative is very on point, because I was very pissed off multiple times.
Really?
I'm just like, they didn't earn my emotions, but they are using certain plot devices to just be like, how can I not cry? Can I give spoilers at the beginning of the podcast?
Yeah, totally. We give all spoilers are like a big thing here, so by all means go right into those plot details.
I guess it would be weird for someone to listen to a podcast on The Notebook without having watched it.
yeah, watch it and then come back.
Yeah, the specifically having this couple that you watch, like, basically fall in love at 17, then die at the end. It's like, I didn't think the story or the plot was very good, but it's hard not to cry when there's a guy who, like, gives up his life to just basically make this person remember their love life every day, even though he knows she's going to forget it.
Yeah.
It's like...
That's, like, definitely tugging at the heartstrings there. What do you think, Colleen?
For me, it was interesting because I had seen this movie once before, but I was, like, I think 18 years old. I was a freshman in college. And if you asked me this back when I was, like, in college, I would have been like, oh, this was such a great movie. It's so romantic. They love each other so much. And then I guess I've become really cynical in my age.
Yeah.
Like, now I watch it and I'm like,
that's life. I
don't really understand why they love each other so much. I can tell there's a lot of passion, but I don't know what created it. Also, the fact that anyone thinks it's okay to cheat on James Marsden is very problematic.
It was a very popular thing to do in the mid-2000s. Like, Enchanted, Superman Returns, X-Men.
But maybe it was just,
I feel like I'm missing another one, too.
Yeah, he definitely gets the short end of the stick in this movie.
Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, wow. Yeah, what's up with that? This poor guy. He's just that kind of face, I guess. That you like him, but not as much as someone else? I don't know. That's unfortunate. I had never seen this movie before.
Really?
And, I was aware that I was aware of, like, a lot of the plot details. Like, for example, the fact that, the old woman being told the story, it's her, obviously. Like, the movie, it's kind of obvious, but I think the movie tries to make you, the movie acts as if you don't know that right away. But it is pretty obvious. Yeah. It's like, come on. If anything, I wasn't totally sure if the old man was Ryan Gosling or James Marsden. And personally, I kind of was hoping it would have turned out to be James Marsden. I would have thought that would have been a more interesting ending, that maybe James Marsden convinces her that, like, she chose the other guy because that makes her happier. I don't know. That would have been...
And that's why you never go for the bad boy.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that would have been, like, a little more interesting. But, of course, this is not the kind of movie that is going to take a left turn like that. This is a very, like, classic, if, dare I say, cliched romance movie. And you're not going to, have a twist like that in this kind of movie.
I didn't think I would have to be, like... like, I know this movie has flaws, but I didn't think I would be this movie's defender. I totally get it. I totally get the, like, we could talk about the grievances and the flaws and
Sure.
But I think for what it tries to do, and when you think of The Notebook and all the movies that come before and after, it is kind of the one that stands out as the gold standards of cheesy romantic comedies. And it's not getting a big high score for me, but it's the only movie in our podcast list of movies so far that people have said this is my favorite movie.
Yeah.
Like, this has been on people's like top. Like, it's like, I know people cry, and I think that's saying like what it does. I think people, both Gosling and McAdams, we'll get into it. Like, they totally sell this cheesy.
Yeah, they do.
Like, it's a fun to nitpick movie, but at the end of the day, if you're crying, it definitely worked.
Mm-hmm.
I think the time has been fairly well to it as well, in terms of just like, oh, it's iconic in terms of what it does. But yeah, no, I didn't think I'd be like, I become less cynical in my life. I become less cynical because when I have a story of how I first saw it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right, I didn't think I...
Okay, well, we can get back to it later if you want. I will say this, though, real quick. I'm surprised that I liked it as much as I did. I thought that I would kind of have my arms crossed and being like, oh, this movie, like, seen this before, like, come on, I know what you're doing. But I have to say, I think that this movie, like, it's a very conventional romance, but it does that very well. I mean, is it doing anything new? No. But I don't know if it is supposed to, given what it's like selling itself as. Like, it's just trying to give you that classic romance, you know, like there's heartbreak and there's tears and there's fighting. You get lots of montages of them fighting, but you don't really know about what.
My favorite was first, Rachel McAdams is like slapping him in the face a couple of times, and his basic like defense against that is to then start slapping himself in the face, and like it actually works. She gets like upset that basically she can't slap him in the face anymore because he's doing the slapping of his own face.
Yeah, I don't know. This is like
get in the water. Like, well, guys, calm down.
We're all having fun here.
Yeah, this was like early on in their relationship when it's like the first third of the movie, you know, when they're like still teenagers, and it's like, you know, we did have our arguments, and like she's slapping him, he slaps himself, and then they're making out. Like, I guess didn't argue for too long.
Just like our relationship.
Oh, wow.
Just to clarify, I just moved my seltzer away from the microphone. I realized it was there, so if there's going to be some weird, like, bubbling that's
we'll edit that out.
That's from my
Or make it more product.
We recorded this underwater. What do you think of the cast, though? I mean, yeah, Ryan Gosling, Rachel McAdams, very popular actors at the time. And still now, I mean, Rachel McAdams kind of walked away from Hollywood shortly after this movie. But, you know, Ryan Gosling, he was quite the heartthrob for some time. I mean, do you guys like these leads and their performances?
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely one of the best parts of the movies. They did a really great job with the casting, and the acting is also really good.
Yeah.
I mean, and it says something, I guess, for their chemistry, the fact that, you know,
that's like
McAdams loves Gosling.
Yeah.
But and I don't know if a lot of people know this, they actually hated each other while filming.
Really?
I
didn't know that.
I did not know that myself.
According to Nick Cassavetes, they did not get along at first, and Gosling tried to have McAdams replaced.
What?
And to improve the relationship, they staged an intervention by bringing them into the room where they could air their grievances, and they really kind of had it out. And it shows to the acting, but it's like there's that intense chemistry. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, they're like, I can't work with her. But they ended up falling in love, and I've heard this, like, actors don't fall in love on set, they fall in love during the tour, like the promotions tour, because you're going across the country, the world, all these months together, and that's when they started dating. But I think that's kind of just interesting to note that, like, they actually hated each other during filming, and it doesn't.
Did it specify why they didn't like each other? And also, are they together now? I didn't know.
No.
Okay, gotcha.
They've been together a long time, though.
Gotcha.
I remember. I can't tell you why. Ryan Gosling can be they're both really intense actors. Like they both prepared for this role. Like he lived in Charleston for 2 months, and then he built furniture.
Oh, that's like a little extreme.
Well, she also spent time before filming to, and took ballet and etiquette classes. Like they really, like I think
that's more reasonable.
Weren't that well known at the time, except for I guess the only thing.
Her big breakout was Mean Girls, which was the same year. So actually, I'm not sure. Mean Girls was 2004. Mean Girls was 2004.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, then 2004 was definitely her breakout.
Maybe
year.
this was part, like this and Mean Girls collectively were her breakout roles. And I'm curious which one came
first. And Ryan Gosling was Remember the Titans.
When I saw this movie, I'm like, wow, this must be circa Remember the Titans, because he looks like skinny and super young, just like Remember the Titans.
Yeah. He was also, though, I believe, in an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark way back when.
Really?
He was the Mickey Mouse Club.
That's right. He was a child star.
And he was intense back then.
Didn't he live with Justin Timberlake, or Justin Timberlake lived with him?
I think they were friends. Funny enough, also
they shared a bed.
Steven Spielberg, Tom Cruise, and Justin Timberlake were once attached to this project.
Really?
So would that have that would have affected the movie definitely? I don't know if it would have made it better or I can't picture. Tom Cruise would have been the dad with the mustache.
I'm picturing Steven Spielberg directing this movie, and then it's and then aliens attacked. He would have really added
the Notebook has a magic
There's something magical about that Notebook.
We did ultimately start trying to turn it into a drinking game.
Oh yeah.
Anything that was cliche teenage girl would find romantic in a relationship.
Okay.
Did you guys make it to the end?
He must have died.
Oh my god.
I'm still hungover from last week.
Oh my god.
Call an ambulance. They're playing the Notebook drinking game.
Oh god. It's a happy ending, right? I don't think we made it that far. Oh no.
All I remember is mustaches.
Not if you're James Marsden.
That's true.
That's a happy ending for him. And then they have the rest of the cast too. Who played the mom?
Joan Allen.
Joan Allen, I like her a lot. I've seen her in the Bourne movies, and
she's perfect. And I mean, this
you
is
look
the best.
tired.
She's a perfect, she's a perfect bitch. She always plays that cold bitch, and I mean that is a credit to the acting.
I mean that
I always
is
love
a
seeing
compliment.
Joan Allen. I don't see her that much anymore. We'd love to have you back.
Yeah.
I wanted to know more about her romance with the blue collar guy that they go visit in the steel mill, the wood mill, whatever that is.
Yeah, whatever the guy's shoveling, whatever he was shoveling.
I was I really hope that they bang one out right now. I hope that that romantic sparks.
I'm curious if he knew that was her, because he looked at her at the end of that scene and smiled, and I'm I guess he's aware that she just creeps on him every now and then.
I still got it, baby. He smiled, he's missing teeth.
She always comes
to his
back.
friends, oh yeah, there she is again. Girl I used to bang back in the day. She won't leave you alone.
And the actor who plays the dad, Rachel McAdams' dad, I've seen him in just a couple things before. For example, he was one of the villains in Home Alone 3.
Nice.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And I think he's a recurring defense attorney on Law & Order SVU.
As is everybody.
Yes. He kind of has that slimy way about him.
I forgot that Sam Shepard was in this.
Oh, who's he again?
He plays Ryan Gosling's dad.
Yes,
and
yes.
Sam Shepard is a cold, looks like he drinks whiskey. He's a cold, crazy he was an old, crazy playwright.
Right.
And it's interesting. Yeah, I guess
he's fairly warm in this movie.
I could go on vacation and I could have fun with this, but he looks like he enjoyed. Yeah. He looked like he wanted to be in this movie.
I think he added a nice touch of support for the Ryan Gosling character, because obviously everyone else was against him.
Yeah.
He kind of had a rough go in this movie. I mean, that's a typical romance tale, coming from different backgrounds. And
that's Nicholas Sparks' MO.
Yeah, right.
This guy, it's never the opposite either. It's but this guy from the wrong side of the tracks is marrying she's going for the debutante at the ball, and the parents won't allow it, but they have differences. Will they get together? I don't know.
Also just the setting of the South. That's always a romantic setting, right?
Mm-hmm.
The South in I guess this is the 40s, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We need to rewatch this with the drinking game, because any time that was brought up, I'm just yep. Fancy ball.
I thought, though, it is kind of strange that it's kind of like the Gone with the Wind thing, where it's like romanticizing the pre-civil rights South.
Yeah.
Which is a little odd to me.
Yeah.
Maybe we should stop doing that. I don't know.
Get down, no, you're gonna kill yourself!
No, cut it out.
Well, you go out with me?
What? No!
No.
No!
No.
Hey, pal, she just told you.
Why not?
I don't know, because I don't want to. Ella!
All right, well, you leave me no other choice then. Oh, my God.
I'm not kidding, no, stop fooling around!
What are you doing? Oh, wait, grab the ball.
I'm gonna ask you one more time. Will you? Or will you not go out with me? God damn, my hand's slipping.
Then grab the ball, you idiot!
Not until she agrees.
Oh, go out with him, honey.
Okay, fine, I'll go out with you.
No, don't do me any favors.
No, I want to!
You want it.
Yes!
You want it.
Say it.
I want to go out with you!
Say it again.
I want to go out with you!
No, Nicholas Sparks, like, this book, I imagine before it became a movie, I feel like you would find Nicholas Sparks in, like, the airport or train station. It's those, like, romance, those, like, what 50 Shades of Grey now, like, the stuff that people read. But he had, and I made a point to just print this out, he had 11 movies. Like,
based on his books?
Based on his books.
Not before The Notebook.
2 before The Notebook. And I'll defend one, A Walk to Remember. I'll defend that.
That's a
Remember
good
that
movie.
I will, that is also a divided film. I will, once again, I saw it when I was young, and I'm like, yeah, Mandy Moore can sing, and she's cute. And granted, I think it's only one with cancer, I believe.
Yeah.
But he has had, and The Notebook is his most successful at 53%.
Oh, wow, yeah, a lot of
That's not good.
Keith always prints out like a handy movie guide, and I'm looking at the scores to all these other Nicholas Sparks inspired movies, and man, the critics hate these.
Chad Michael Murray, right?
Shane West. Shane West.
Okay.
Come on,
I confused them.
It's a good bad boy.
But he didn't have
bad boys.
His first movie was 1999. Notebook came out 2004.
Yes. Dear John.
Several movies then.
That's one I remember.
And they didn't really start having diminishing returns until the third to last. They've been he's had a successful translation to film, at least with audiences. I think Nicholas Sparks alone is a divided film in and of
divided
itself.
Books.
And I think it's and that's why I think The Notebook is the gold standard of that type of.
As close as
story.
he ever got to a fresh score.
Exactly.
That's funny. Well, I mean, he hits, I guess, all the beats that people who like that cheesy kind of stuff are looking for. So in that way, I guess he's just maybe like a shameless commercial writer. He's not looking to fix the wheel.
He's got a successful formula.
Yeah.
I wonder how you find that. Niche. It's his alien stuff won't work. People aren't really digging this. It's just I got this one about a notebook, and it's people like this. Just write the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, totally. I can picture someone with a collection of all these paperback romance novels in their home.
He has a dice with different words on it. It's okay, we're gonna do this one in South, okay, and upper and lower class, okay, lower class.
Okay, this time in the 60s. All right.
He's a good boy, but he goes for the bad girl. No, stick to the formula.
Bad boy, good girl. Come on.
Joan Allen with Rachel McAdams at one point says just say it, right? Just say it. He's trash.
That's right. She says it several times. Once it comes out, then it's trash, trash, trash.
They should have just said it at
She's
the
on the
dinner.
fritz.
When they just invite him, it's they're just belittling him
No,
at the dinner.
how about that one guy who just starts the conversation with, how much money do you make? What? Just ask that out of nowhere.
Everyone at the table was wearing all white, and Rachel McAdams did not give him the memo.
Yeah.
I don't remember what he's wearing, but it might be black.
He's wearing something that's dirty.
Am I being joked on? Am I that poor guy you bring to a dinner for smugs?
Get out.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get out.
But Rachel, couldn't you have just hey, by the way, everyone got the memo. Just wear anything white.
Yeah, or maybe gotten him a white suit or something.
She could, yeah.
But it's just like kind of a funny scene to me. Like I couldn't take that scene too seriously because like all these like jerks are staring this guy down and like being super judgy, and it's like, all right, like I guess they pride themselves on manners, except when it comes to a poor person. Then they will just dump all over.
I say,
like oh my.
I think we could dissect like half the critics did. Like it's not as low as like 8% or 20%. And I'm looking like this movie. There's some critics that I think did get the like. I get it. Like this movie does what it sets out to do. Like,
right. How about like what we love to quote Roger Ebert, and his quote about this movie. He always has a great way of summing up like movies. Like overall like success or failure. And his quote about this movie. Now, here's a story that could have been a tearjerker, but no, wait, it is a tearjerker. It's just that it's a good one. So I guess critics, for the most part, don't like these manipulative tearjerkers, but this of that category, this is like probably like of the highest caliber, those kind of movies. There's plenty of tearjerkers that do a terrible job, and those are even more frustrating. And I guess the idea was maybe I think the most tear-jerking moments are with the older actors. Those scenes when they're in the retirement. I'm like, I did think that's sad. I mean, obviously dementia is like a tragic thing to happen to someone. So how can you not like feel bad for that person?
I think that I can't speak for the rest of Nicholas Sparks' filmography, but I think The Notebook is the only one that does. Catered there's something for the old people and there's something for the young people.
Yeah,
sure.
Because James Garner, he may not look it, but he was like one of the hottest guys in television back in the day. And
he was a handsome old man in the movie.
He's like the perfect husband, just reading to her, and like she's not coming back. He's like, I'm just gonna read. Like that's so sweet. And Nick Cassavetes. His father, John, who was a famous director and actor, he did Rosemary's Baby, and he did a lot of avant-garde, or not even avant-garde, just weird independent movies. And Gina Rollins basically Nick casted his mom as the old woman, and there's something for an old generation and then they can get like, oh wow, that Ryan Gosling is cute. Like, I think there is something that everyone can enjoy.
So I think you actually just made me realize that this was, in my opinion, like two different movies. It was the Ryan Gosling, Rachel McAdams movie, and then it was the older people movie. Mm-hmm. And I guess the reason I didn't like the older aspect is because I tied it in with Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams' storyline, which I hated.
Oh, I see.
But now that I actually if I think about just taking the older I don't want to keep on saying old people because that just sounds
we're totally discounting a bunch of
senior elderly
baby boomer generation.
Yeah, that's better. Speaking of that, I guess I should plug that they are about to have a senior Bachelor spin-off. So if there's anything I'm going to plug on this show, that will be it.
What?
Yeah.
I wish I did not know that.
That's a random tangent. But yeah.
Wait, what's it called?
I don't remember, but I know that.
They have a name announced.
Ye Old Bachelor?
Ye Old Bachelor. It's my heart. It hurts.
Oh, God.
Oh, my goodness.
I've fallen for her and I can't get up.
Oh, man. That's great.
But the boomer sections of the movie I actually did like. I would have cried, but I tried to hold it back because I'm like, no, I didn't like the Gosling and Rachel McAdams part, so I'm not gonna cry at these actual sad aspects. Okay. So if they were two separate movies, I guess I would like the senior boomer movie, but I really just disliked the Rachel McAdams and the Ryan Gosling part.
Okay, yeah. That's fair. And I mean, for me, it was kind of hard to connect those two because I feel like, the characters as older people were so you didn't really see a tie-in from any characteristics when they were younger.
And they were also emotionally rational and emotionally mature, which I guess comes from age. But Ryan Gosling's character when he was younger was just erratic. Like, that guy offered him a bunch of money, and he, like, pulled his shotgun on him.
Yeah.
And then, like, in older age, that guy was, like, he was so, what's the actor's name?
The older guy?
Yeah.
James Garner.
James Garner, he was, like, so, like, emotionally supportive and kind and
reasonable
patient with everybody.
Yeah.
Like, I like this guy.
Well, he's like Ryan Gosling's like, I think, a 20-year-old son of a bitch. Like, I don't really expect, like, that. Granted, it's a different time, but I don't expect that. He climbs to the top of he should have died. Like, there are times he's, like, hanging on,
the top of the Ferris wheel.
The Ferris wheel, and I'm like, you could easily... The movie could end in a horrible way of him clanking down.
And they also lie down in the road. I was asking Colleen.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, so, like, do they die here? And she's like, it's a 15-minute movie. Yeah, 15-minute movie. They die here.
They die here and it's over.
It's a divided short film. I have to say, too, I think that's a very, like, weird way to start off a romantic relationship. Is the guy climbs up a Ferris wheel and threatens to kill himself if she does not agree to go on a date with him.
And everyone's like, do it! Like, no one... I'm so sorry for the... Like, James Marsden 2.0. It's like... Wait, you're not... I wouldn't... Like, what is going on here?
I'm on a date, dude!
Yeah, I guess in some of these stories, no does not mean no. Which is really problematic.
That part did not age well.
Like, to all the guys out there, do not threaten to kill yourself to try to win over a lady.
Especially, have they even talked before?
I don't think so.
That was, like, the creepiest part.
Like,
they stole a glance.
Because she was like, you're gruff, and, like, get away from me. He's like, and then E from Entourage...
Right.
E from Entourage is like...
I want to follow up on that.
So I forgot he was in this movie.
So the thing that leads up to that is he goes up to her after, like, not meeting her at all, and he's like, can I go on a date with you? And she's like, reasonably, no, I have no idea who you are, I'm on a date right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And then it leads to him climbing the Ferris wheel and saying, I'm going to kill myself if you don't go on a date. And I just thought, like, you know, there are a lot of men and women who probably look at this like the gold standard of romance, and it's like, this is the worst lesson possible.
Yeah.
Consent isn't important. I'll kill myself if you don't go on a date with me. Both men and women think that this is romantic. This leads to, like, so many horrible, like,
implications
of behavior.
It's like this weird old-fashioned thing where it's like, oh, he's so head over heels that he, like, will continue. He will continue.
After I said no so many times. It's like, no,
he's persistent, you know. And it's like, I mean, I guess that's one way of putting it.
Well, it definitely is whether it wants to be or not, a throwback to those old school romantic movies, like, because the story about how I saw it, and this is a relation.
Okay.
Like, right before like, the summer between 8th grade and freshman year, my mom's, like, signed me up for, like, hey, you can get a leg up. Let's sign you up for, like, a summer course at the high school. And what no one knew at the time, and she didn't know at the time, was that this was summer school for criminals and thugs and dumb. Like, really, there's a kid next to me, like, scraping into the desk. And I just remember the teacher going, like, you don't need to be here. I came home angry every day. It was like a 2-week thing. And my mom decided, it's like, let's go see a movie. And it turned out the movie at the time was Notebook.
Yeah.
And my mom is a baby boomer, and she was just like, this is what, like, those old romance movies were about, like, back in the day. Like, I want you to see what, like, how, like, a true love in film form. Like, people, and I was the only young kid at the theater. We saw, like, an afternoon showing. It was filled with older women, all crying. Like, I totally get that this is, like, a throwback to maybe, like, even, like, the James, like, you know, even Gone with the Wind, like, that old school romance where this is not the real world. This is not even... This
it's a fantasy.
This is the Westworld version of romantic comedy. Where, like, or not even romantic comedy, but this is such a heightened, like, wouldn't it be wonderful if a guy did this to you? But
only if he looked like Ryan Gosling. Is that when it's romantic?
Yeah. Nick Cassavetes wanted someone unknown and not handsome to portray Noah. Therefore, he casted Ryan Gosling in the role, and I'm that's on the IMDb and the Wikipedia, and I'm like, therefore, Ryan Gosling. It's like Granted, I'm trying to think of like
That does not add up at all.
He casted Danny DeVito.
I would watch that.
I could do it.
I would love that. That would have made this movie so much better.
I just think the end, the movie itself is asking like, do you go along with it, or do you be blissfully go along with it, or do you just be cynical and go, that can't happen? I think you can have your cake and eat it too, and go like, I get it, which is what I'm like. I didn't cry, but I could totally see people going for this.
I feel like there's some movies where it like helps to not know what is gonna happen going into it, and some movies it helps to know what's gonna happen going into it. So I guess that's a good point. But like I guess I had a jaded point of view going into this. Like I knew that a lot of people consider this like the gold standard of romance. So I may have gone into it being like, I'm going to like rip this apart and kind of not give it a chance. So maybe I'm not the best like unbiased reviewer.
Well, I'm sure a lot of critics went into it that way. Like, okay, here we go, another like romance. They've probably seen like a ton of these, and they didn't really want to give it a chance.
They've seen the tropes. They've seen like how many movies of this before. You've already had 2 movies, like A Walk to Remember and The Night's
talk about
Bottle before that.
Talk about cliches. I mean, I feel like after that teenage sequence ends, she goes away. The movie all of a sudden like steps on the gas, and now it's like 6 months later, a year later. I'm like, whoa. But it's like now he's in war, and he's like fighting in World War II, and like his buddy gets blown up. I'm like, what is happening now?
That was...
Go ahead.
That was one thing I really wanted to touch on, was like up until I'm gonna keep calling him E because I watch Entourage, but Kevin Connolly.
Kevin Connolly.
Up until Kevin Connolly gets killed, another spoiler there.
How dare you?
In Entourage.
In Entourage. Total 180. When Kevin Connolly gets killed in war, like up until that point, he was like a relatively like main character like in the movie, and like they gloss over that like to the extreme. I mean, he died. Like he dies, and like
a throwaway death, really.
Yeah, like I actually like I like wanted to rewind. Like, wait, just double checking that was Kevin Connolly, right? Because I mean, they spend a second on him, and even Ryan Gosling spends a second on him. Like looks at him just like, that's a shame.
That's death face though.
doesn't comfort him at all, which is like what I always see in war movies. They always like try and say like, tell me about that vacation house we're gonna get when we get out of this war. Tell me something calming in like your last moments. And Ryan Gosling's just like, you died.
What do you know?
You had a good run.
That was great. Maybe he was just so in love with Rachel McAdams, he had no room to care about anyone else.
The heart can only be so full.
Yeah, that was it. And then I guess another twist in this movie is that the house that he rebuilds, that turns out to be the nursing home at the end, right?
Oh, is that right? I did not get that.
I saw something about that. I mean, I didn't pick up on it, but I did see something online that said that was the house, was the nursing home.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I thought was...
I did not know that.
That's what I thought, because when he fixes up the house and starts painting it white, I'm like, that looks familiar. And then they cut back to like the older people and like the storytelling, and I'm like, oh, that's the house. Yeah.
I did not notice that.
I don't think that was necessary. She just could have just been in any nursing home, really.
That would have been such like a romantic like twist at the end to be like also.
I mean, we say that for the end.
Yeah, I mean if that is true, that's interesting.
But that also means that he would have had to convert that house into a nursing home.
To leave.
Yeah.
Right.
He's like, well, we might as well make this a nursing home.
Yeah, because like that had like all the nursing home facilities, like a nurse's station,
hallway,
like medical like wings and stuff like that. Like
he could always walk past that spot where they almost had sex, but she kept talking and ruining the moment.
That's so funny. Like the rest of his life, it's like
that's the scene that the audiences love.
There's that spot
when they're taking their shirts off and it's like see, I don't want to be the I totally get every criticism that you're saying.
I'm tearing it apart.
No. Like I totally get it. A movie like this movie is not. like I don't. The movie's not citizen, but it's like this. It's not like high caliber, but it's just like
you keep saying it's not supposed to be taken like realistically, and I'm totally taking it realistically.
No, believe me, this is not an 85% audience score. But I don't know. I just think that.
I think it's
the
a
whole
53.
cast. It's better than what you expect.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
I can totally see why this is in their favorite movies. Like, and it's a guilty pleasure too.
Yeah.
I mean, it has some like fun moments too. When they're
this seems
teenagers.
like a perfect guilty pleasure.
Yeah. I think guilty pleasure is a good way to put it. Although I think some people see it as genuinely good because it hits all those beats. And I mean, it's a good-looking movie too. I think that like the movie has some like beautiful shots.
Aesthetically, yeah.
Even like the opening credits where it's like that whole red tinted, got the river,
the geese in like slow motion.
Yeah. There's some like really nice shots in the movie too.
It's like a Hallmark card.
Here we go on the count 3, okay?
Really? Okay, ready?
Okay.
1,
Okay.
2, 3.
No, I can't.
Get in the water! Come on. Get in! I'm sorry. Get in the water, baby. Baby, would you get in?
Get in the water. I can't. Go.
Get in the water!
Oh,
Come on, Joe! 3!
To even like, okay, actors, maybe not all actors get along, but to even stage an intervention going like, let's really make this work, and the amount of, I mean, you don't have to make furniture to make it, but both Ryan and Rachel everyone
extreme.
put in, like, I'm casting my mom into this movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much like this and Atonement are the only like modern day romantic movies that I can think of that really kind of that people know, and it's gotten at least acclaim in some way or iconic. The other ones just kind of fall into like.
You forget about the other ones.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that there's 10 other movies that have made it like that people just like forget.
Yeah. Does anyone go back to Dear John?
That was what I was thinking of. I was thinking of other Nicholas Sparks movies, and I'm like, isn't that what Channing Tatum and Amanda Seyfried?
Yes, there is.
All I remember is that they're like on a pier at one point, and then like Amanda Seyfried must have like a rich boyfriend, and then like Channing Tatum fights him on like the beach, and I'm just like, that seems like a Nicholas Sparks cliche.
Yeah, and you were right.
The old father figure, and I'm thinking between this and The Notebook and A Walk to Remember, just like I'm rooting for either my son or daughter. Like, you guys need to get together.
Do all these movies have just as many montages? Because I feel like that's the way that they build the relationship. Like in the beginning, it's like
an easy way to do it.
It's like that's why you don't really get to see what attracts them to each other so much, because you just kind of gloss over it with the montage.
Yeah. And that was one thing. I was watching and I'm like, I don't really see many redeeming qualities about either of these people except that they're good looking. James Marsden, he listed his redeeming qualities. I'm smart. I'm funny. I've got a good paying job.
I thought James Marsden
wasn't give a crap about the art. Why am I turning into this? You don't get it, man.
Wait a minute. No. James Marsden was supportive when Rachel McAdams is like, I don't paint anymore. I used to love to paint. He's like, yeah, then paint. That's fine.
In that reaction, I was like, all right, yeah, sure, go paint. I'll be supportive. And granted, I don't like. Why am I turning into this?
She should have chosen.
Why am I turning into this? Like,
I'm taking such a strong opinion on one side that it's like you have to.
This is the same thing with like Titanic. Like, we totally forget that this Kate Winslet's character Rose met another guy, fell in love, had a family and grandkids, and then when she dies, she remembers that one weekend on the boat.
Yeah. That one guy.
Like all the extras from the Titanic, like I remember you, and then there's Leo, and then like you remember that. It's like once again, this is Westworld romantic movie. Like, you don't come back from dementia or Alzheimer's from Notebooks.
No. I mean, I guess the idea is like she'll come back for a few minutes every day.
Yeah, it's a very romantic form of 51st Dates. We were using. That
did come to mind too. I mean, they even had the doctor come in, a very like I don't want to, like, not the best bedside manners, this doctor, because he's like, she's not coming back. Like, people don't come back from this. I'm like, yeah, that's the truth, but he could be a little nicer about it.
I said at one point, I'm like, but have you ever considered the power of love?
Doesn't he say something like that? Like,
in the modern day version of this movie, he's like, here, listen to this podcast. It's like, oh, I remember.
Yeah, listen to this audiobook.
You gotta read the whole story
every day.
There actually was a deleted. I didn't know about this, and there was a whole scene telling the backstory about the Notebook, but they cut that out. Okay. I imagine it wasn't romantic or anything.
But I was
like the Half-Blood Prince.
That's what kind of confused me though, because I thought that throughout the movie you would see either, I guess it's Rachel Adams' notebook, right, that she writes in. You would see her writing, like, you know, I guess like in her diary or her notebook, like, you know, oh, today we went to like the beach, and you know we had like keeping a log of all of their stories that he would eventually go on to do. We don't see that, so the whole movie, I forget that there is a notebook.
Yeah.
So the title is.
The title used to be called. I forget that there is a notebook in this.
So is he just reading her diary? Like,
could be. Yeah.
That's a little messed up.
Your diary. Nothing happened today.
This also reminds me that
being a piece of shit all day. But, oh, we're gonna skip over that.
There's some chapters
like
omitted.
Itself, like.
Noah had a great body. I don't remember writing that. You don't remember anything of it.
I call these movies "Don't think about it too much."
Yeah.
I was about to say,
oh, they're so fun to nitpick.
Yeah.
But don't think about it too much.
Yeah.
Like
I was like, check your brain at the door movies.
yes.
But I was about to say, this is kind of like a great example of like cry porn. It's like, if you're in the mood to cry, like, even if I was in the mood to cry, if like I could totally get a good cry at the end of this, and I'm still being like super jaded about it.
Well, you know what's so funny? So I watched this with Eric the other day, and you know he was crying because he cries every time he sees this movie, and I did not cry, even though I was like, I felt bad, I felt sad, I just didn't cry, and he was like, "What's wrong with you? How can you not cry? Is there any movie that makes you cry?" And there is a movie that makes me cry every time. One particular scene. It is from my childhood, Beauty and the Beast. The 1991 makes me cry every time.
Really?
When the Beast, right before he turns back and he dies, makes me cry every time.
I did not remember that he dies.
Well, I mean,
it was a while ago.
He comes back right away. But just so everyone knows, I do have a soul. Okay.
I didn't cry during this movie, but I yeah.
Then you have no
I don't
soul.
have a soul though.
I tried constantly, and at the end, when you're like just weeping uncontrollably, this one is like kind of poking fun at me, and I keep feeling like it's just so sad.
I had the impulse to cry, and I held it back because I was angry at the young people part of the story, and I was actually about to like nudge Colleen, and I looked over and I saw crying. Like, oh no, gotta come. I got the hugs, babe. I got the hugs right here.
Gotta go into boyfriend mode.
The part of the show where we ask you, when's the last time you cried?
That's pretty funny. I mean, listen, crying is involuntary. You can't. I mean, some people can cry on command, but I cannot. So I can't force myself to cry. Sorry, but I did feel bad. All right, and that's as far as I'll go.
When you brought up writing in the notebook, like we never got to see her write in the notebook, it reminded me of the fact that Ryan Gosling wrote a letter a day. And that is another thing I would incorporate into a drinking game of things that like teenage girls would like find super romantic. Writing a love letter every day.
Yeah,
I wrote her every day.
Isn't that what happens in Dear John as well? Not to keep bringing that up, but
that would make sense.
I would guess by the title.
By the trailer,
that would totally make sense.
Or he's a deer.
Dear John.
He's a Dear John, like what you like write.
He's a tractor.
Nice.
God damn it. Okay. But yeah, you know, the letters, that was interesting. So it was fairly obvious, right, that the mom was hiding the letters. That was pretty obvious. But I feel like Rachel McAdams should have been a little more angry when she discovers that. Like, her reaction is kind of annoyed. Like, they're sitting on
my mom.
She's sitting on the porch with her, and she's just like, unbelievable. She, like, essentially almost, I don't want to say ruined your life, but like your life would have been so much different if she hadn't done that. And that was a terrible thing to do.
It's the same type of relationship that like Lucille Bluth has with Lindsay. Just like, oh mother, you had the letters, and you know they both have vodkas in their hand.
That's my manipulative mom. Yeah, I like Rachel McAdams a lot in this movie. There's just a few like moments where I feel like I don't know. There's just some awkward moments for me in this movie. Like in a lot of these montages, she's just kind of like laughing. For like what I don't know why.
That's
like,
a personality trait.
That's like such like a montagey thing. Like we're having a great time, ha 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 ha. And I'm like, what's so fucking funny?
You guys haven't said one funny thing whenever I'm hearing you talking. What's all this funny stuff?
Like what? Like, and then even when she's like trying on the gown and everything, and like everyone is like, oh, like you look so great. He can't keep his hands off of you, and like she again is like laughing kind of over the top. I feel like that's kind of like an acting trick, you know, like to show how much you're enjoying your life. Like things are so great. It's just, and it like was done like a little too much that I was like catching on to that trick. I was like, all right, already, enough of this.
Arrogant son of a bitch!
Would you just stay with me?
Stay with you? What for? Look at us, we're already fighting.
Well, that's what we do. We fight. You tell me when I'm being an arrogant son of a bitch, and I tell you when you're being a pain in the ass. Which you are, 99% of the time. I'm not afraid to hurt your feelings. They have like a 2-second rebound rate, and you're back doing the next pain in the ass thing.
So what?
So it's not gonna be easy. It's gonna be really hard. And we're gonna have to work at this every day, but I wanna do that because I want you. I want all of you, forever, you and me, every day.
This would have been like the perfect movie to make like a spoof movie.
Yes,
I'm surprised we like I know we have I know we have all that crap now,
date movie,
especially during that time.
Yeah.
But like in terms of like the movie that is so ripe for all this stuff.
Yeah.
This could have been a. Oh, damn it! We missed our chance by 20 years.
Well, hold the phone. So yeah, you do have all those terrible like epic movie date movies. Like those movies are total garbage. But there was a really funny movie with Paul Rudd and Amy Poehler called "They Came Together," which does harken back to the really good spoofs of like Naked Gun and Airplane.
Another teen movie.
Another teen movie.
We really like that.
Oh yeah, see, like that was before they started.
2000, I believe.
It has the cheesy title, but it is a good spoof.
Yeah, see, like that's before they started just taking every pop culture reference imaginable and putting it in a blender.
And the foundation for that was like She's All That plus others. This would have been like I wanted something like that, but with Notebook and maybe like others.
But the key to a good good spoof movie is you got to focus on that particular genre and maybe like really focus on one particular movie and maybe just have hints of other movies in the same genre.
Exactly.
Right? Because like date movie, they like reference like Kill Bill at one point.
Well, those are abominations.
Yeah.
They had like Spartan movie and somehow it like also referenced like American Idol. It had like Sanjay. I'm like, no, what?
Yeah, they totally like missed the point with those movies. So yeah, I agree. This would have been
the perfect movie for it.
Yeah, I
like
totally
the laughing
agree.
alone, you could have gotten a great scene from just them laughing for like 2 minutes.
Yeah. Like
I'm just thinking of Austin Powers.
Like everyone around them is
laughing. Everyone slowly stops laughing.
Maybe the boat's not gone yet. We can write it. We can write it.
No, I think it's a little too late for a Notebook parody, even though we were talking about it now.
You brought up the art. Like I want to paint.
Yeah.
And I forgot. I really loved after they finally had sex.
Yeah.
She walks out on her balcony, in
naked.
In a blanket, naked, and just starts painting. And I'm just like, huh. Cool.
Interesting.
All right.
In this world, this can happen.
Right? I was like, and then the mother's like car drives up. They cut to the mother's car driving up. I'm like, is she about to like answer like her mother like with just her boobs hanging out?
Yeah, then she answers the door like still just wrapped up naked in a blanket. I mean, I guess she was so inspired from their love making that she couldn't put on clothes. She had to immediately start painting.
She lived the rest of her life naked.
Yeah.
Just an epic bang.
Yeah.
But also,
you put on clothes after that.
Right? I no longer dress.
I like how you're saying like I'm saying like making love and you're saying like banging.
Well, when you say make love, it gives more power to the actual movie. And as I'm making it clear, I didn't like this movie, so I got
Whoopi.
You're saying how like
I
they
gotta
say it,
throw in dumb words to really prove my point.
just to bring it back to like Danny DeVito. That's how they say it in Always Sunny. It's like I tried to bang her. It's like, and then this movie, it's like make love to me. Yeah.
Danny DeVito could be in the Notebook parody.
Oh,
Yes.
so good.
We inadvertently started writing this
Let's
parody.
start fundraising.
God.
Anyone who's interested.
If I had a time machine, this is my only thing I would go back and do. Nothing else.
You don't want to invest in Amazon? No.
No.
I've got my goals.
That could be a good episode of Always Sunny. Like, you know, they've made Lethal Weapon 5 and 6.
True.
They should make, like, a Notebook 2. and then Danny DeVito only agrees to be in the movie if he... Or only agrees to finance the movie if he's the star.
But he's gotta have full
girlfriend's
frontal.
name? Who's like Dee's friend?
Oh, the waitress? Or
Artemis.
No.
Artemis, yes, Artemis.
She could be
Yes.
she
She's
could
rich-
be
rich
Rachel
McAdams.
McAdams.
Oh, man, that would be so
okay,
great.
I didn't think I would have something to promote on this, and I was debating about whether or not to, because this is like earlier in the decade. My friend and I, when we were making our short films, in between that, we were like, we should keep doing something. So we created a 4-episode thing on YouTube called Half-Ass Reenactments.
Okay.
And our first, where we really, in 3 to 4 minutes, we would just recap these movies in my apartment with, D level, not even D, F level effects.
Yeah.
And our first episode was, The Notebook. And I played the dad, we just kind of, it really is around my apartment. It was snowing at the time. It really is like a weekend. Less than that venture, but it's on YouTube.
I was gonna ask, is it on
We did
YouTube?
half-ass reenactments. We did The Notebook, the first Harry Potter, Jurassic Park, and Gravity.
I would love to watch that, and that feels like one of those movies you make back in the day that was just so much fun.
I get in the water. I'm in the shower. Get in the water. We're rowing in we have rubber ducks we're rowing in the bath.
Oh, that was another
my
scene.
roommates walking around in the background cooking.
So that's the iconic scene though when they're on the boat, it starts raining. But that's another one where Richard McAdams starts laughing. What's so funny?
I'm so in love.
Yeah.
That's the most iconic. One of the most iconic scenes I like. That whole on the boat.
Yeah.
Beautiful scenery. I
get that.
I get it.
The ducks are a metaphor
it doesn't
for
make
her,
sense.
I guess.
Her life is structured, and she had no choice to go wherever she wanted.
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling.
He's a
helped her
quack.
become a free spinning
He's a quack. He is a quack. He's chasing people with shotguns. But when it starts raining, and then when they're making out, and they have that confessional and everything. That is the iconic scene in the movie, right?
Yeah.
That's on the cover and everything.
Yeah.
But I feel as much as movies like to romanticize kissing in the rain, I feel that has to be really uncomfortable. I imagine you would probably get a cold or something.
Snot running down.
Yeah,
Did you just sneeze into my mouth?
Yeah, that's not I think that's something that really plays out in real life. Again, the fantasy aspect.
I'm always
of it.
amazed at actors in rain scenes. Their hair looks so good, and every time I walk in from the rain, I'm who would want
Who wants to make out with a wet dog?
Yeah, exactly. I look like a wet mop right now.
Well, the most infamous of those making out in the rain scenes is in Spider-Man, right? When the upside down kiss, which it's raining.
The water's going up your nose.
Yeah. They had trouble breathing. That. Again, it looks steamy and romantic and sexy, but in actuality, it was a nightmare for the actors. Yeah.
That having standing up sex, your back's totally sore. I can't do this.
Do not try this at home,
Are you
people.
trying to tell me that the films lied to me?
No.
I can't have shower sex unchallenged. It won't challenge my back whatsoever.
Just break everything in your house.
Slipping and sliding.
Say I'm a bird.
No. Don't do it.
Say I'm a bird.
Stop it. Stop it now.
Say it.
You're a bird.
Now say you're a bird too.
If you're a bird, I'm a bird.
one specific thing I really wanted to put that we loved was the fact that Ryan Gosling is with that widow. That we felt so bad for her.
Yeah.
I forgot about her.
I feel bad. She's the James Marsden.
Exactly, and it's like he clearly won't give her any of his emotions, even though she's clearly desperate for some emotional love,
compassion.
That's the right word. and then he hooks up with Rachel McAdams, and she comes by, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah.
Can I meet her?" And I'm just like, "What?" And then you're like, "Throuple."
Everyone knows what's going on in that situation, right? Like Rachel McAdams knows this is a woman that he had just until recently was sleeping with, and then she, the Martha character, is like, "Oh, this is the woman he's in love with, and our thing is over now." They're all fine with it.
Yeah.
But I want to meet her.
There's not that very. If you go into the weeds, there's don't. These people are not role models. They've hurt others, but they've got. They died together, so it's okay. If you think about it, you'll be angry.
But you know what? Props to that actress who played the Martha character, because she is only in 2 scenes, and I was like, I feel very bad for her. I think it's a credit to the actress to be able to have just 2 scenes and evoke that compassion for the character, because I feel like I totally got her story in that short amount of time.
That I did feel legitimately bad for her. I'm like, geez, she deserves some compassion. Ryan Gosling's not the guy for you right now. Get someone better.
Maybe that should be the sequel. Is her story, Martha,
and ending up with James Marsden.
Yes. That would really solve everything.
These people aren't as trashy.
They go to a support group of other romantic people that have been left at the altar. It's I thought I was the perfect guy, but I didn't write enough letters.
The only problem is that support group would be filled up with other versions of James Marsden from all of his other movies.
They've all
James Marsden from all the other universes.
Choose one.
It's not too late to write that movie.
That's a good one.
It's not
a James Marsden support group. I write that down.
It's Wreck-It Ralph. He's in a support group, and it's I hate to use this word, but he's getting cuckolded or
I hate that word.
I hate that word.
I'm like, that used to be a term, and now it's
what's become. I hate, but that's the act. I think that's the textbook definition of
that's literally
of his 2000s character career.
The cheatee, if you will.
Especially in Superman Returns, where Superman is actively spying on him and Lois,
oh my god,
he thinks the kid is his and turns out to be Superman's, and James Marsden's I guess I'm okay with it. It's and even in X-Men, it's
this poor guy.
That was I wanted to, if we are promoting one thing, one of my friends did come up with a movie that is similar to your movies called Our Friend Died. It's Will Tempfer, and it's a movie that makes fun of The Big Chill and any other movie where people reunite after the death of a college friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's out. It's out.
Yeah,
I need to see this.
It's really funny too. It's a very Michael Swain-esque humor.
Oh, okay.
I'm definitely. Our Friend Died.
Our Friend Died.
Okay, we will. You said that as if our friend died, so maybe we should watch. I was like, oh no, you were just saying the title of it. Okay. Okay, well, is there any other aspect of this movie that we want to cover? I
think we went into the bare bones of it.
It's a very rewatchable movie too.
We're gonna have to cut out the half hour where we just talk about the dad's mustache.
Yes, that's true. That was I'm jealous of that mustache.
That guy seemed too goofy to be in this movie. He's they're all a bunch of little.
I did not seem like he was Rachel McAdams' father, first of all, and then second of all, yes, goofiness. Again, he was a villain in Home Alone 3.
He's also married to Cyndi Lauper. And it's not. This isn't in the fun fact. I just who is this guy? Where have I seen him? And he's been married to Cyndi Lauper since the early they've been married for a while. And I'm huh.
And now
that's what I said. Fun. It was a sample fact of the day.
Well, there you have it. And then for the last 10 years, he's been giving the ADAs on Law and Order a hard time. Getting their perps off. Okay, well, I think now we can maybe move on to our own personal scores for this movie and figure out where we stand collectively. So just a reminder, the critical score on Rotten Tomatoes, 53%, which is a rotten. 85% approval rating from audiences, that's a fresh. 60%, that's the threshold. You need that or more to have a fresh score. So just, based on how you feel about this movie now, what percentage score would you give it? Start with Colleen.
As long as you can take your mind off the non-realistic aspects of it, I give it, I think, a 65.
Oh, okay.
I watched it twice. It's not horrible. It's just not believable. So
I think maybe now I think people are more cynical than ever before, and maybe this is from a time the end of that era where we were all in on these cheesy.
It's like a terrific threshold.
Yeah. I mean, it does. I mean, it manipulates you into feeling emotions, but it's not, me just rolling my eyes the entire time.
Yeah, sometimes it does its job.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. So 65. Kyle, what do you think?
So let's see. I guess I want to just say a nice number. I'm going to give it a 33%.
Whoa,
that's low. I know
that is really low.
So if I were to actually go into this movie and think of it go into it trying to view it as a good movie, that's the score I would give. But there's also now that genre where you could watch a bad movie and really enjoy its badness. And sorry for everyone who did like the movie.
How dare you!
But I could see myself really enjoying the crap out of this movie if I went into it with the purpose of making fun of it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's definitely not intended.
No.
Okay. Well, wow. I'm surprised by that score, but you know what? Okay. That's interesting.
I went into it very critically.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. And so did a lot of the critics, obviously. But yeah, you seem to definitely be on their side. Keith.
I'm kind of leaning more to where Colleen is, and you raised some very good points. I think it says a lot that a lot of people have come out and said this is my favorite movie, and I think in terms of movie montages for this, there's some scenes that it does belong in. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets chosen for the Criterion Collection or something along the lines of. It is the gold standard of this romantic movie of what it does. Maybe considered for AFI's top romance stories. It pleases all ages, and I mean back in the day, Humphrey Bogart was our sexy, our leading man, sexy, and it does have aspects. If you go back to his movies, they're they're even more how could you fall in love? But we do. They have. I'm gonna give it a 70.
Do it.
I'm gonna give it a 70. Enough that 70 for me is it does fit into other people's personal favorites, top 10 of all time. Yeah. Iconic, great acting, good directing. But there's a lot of stuff. It's a fun movie to make fun of.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I feel in this genre itself, I'm not a huge fan of. But it's probably at the top of that genre, and I feel it there is a craft to it too. I feel people did go all in, and I think the performances definitely elevated for me. I kind of am leaning also towards where Keith and Colleen are. I'm sorry, Kyle. I mean, I don't know if I'll go back to it too often, but there's just something about it. It did kind of. I was a little sold more often than I thought it would be. I was surprised. I kind of thought I would go into it like you did, critical and kind of ready to roll my eyes. But I don't know. Maybe I'm a little more sappy than I realized.
He has a soul.
I have a soul, but
How dare you accuse me of having a soul?
I have a soul, but I do not cry. So I'll give this. I think I'll also give it a 70.
If I could jump in, I want to say I want to change my ranking to the Ryan the young people, the young version. I'll give it a 33%. The older person, the senior baby boomer section of the movie, I'll raise that up to an 85.
Oh, so what if you
have no idea how to do this.
Okay.
I have no idea how to do this on the
I didn't know you were calculating.
If you had to come in, so if you had to average your scores together, your score has to be averaged with the rest of ours. Your final score.
So 33 plus 80.
Okay, you gave it an 85?
Yeah.
So those two together is 59.
So your score may be a 59.
Yes, I'm not happy with that average.
Really the old people.
Yeah,
but with our powers combined, it does come out to 66, which I think is very...
That's a passing grade.
Yeah.
I do think this is a passing grade movie, and I do think 66 is...
It's a competent movie, which maybe is like, it sounds like a backhanded compliment, but like, you know, you get a sense that the people making this movie know what they're doing. And
it's watchable and maybe not rewatchable, but maybe every 10 years you kind of...
Any flaws with the movie really I just have in the screenplay. I feel like everything else is done very well. And, of course, you have to have a good screenplay. That's the foundation of your movie. And I usually have a problem with greenlighting bad screenplays. But, you know...
for the formula in general.
Yeah, exactly. It is very formulaic. But, you know, I guess credit to everything else, every other aspect of this movie. And with that score, that means we are officially siding with the audience. So maybe that's not where we expect it to land, but hey, you know, it's kind of fun to you know, get.
I want my name off this podcast.
Hey, too late. You signed a waiver.
Here's a notebook.
We can. I don't know. I was gonna make a dementia joke, but that would be tasteless.
Well, you couldn't remember it.
No. Oh, okay. Oh my God. We should cut that out. Okay. Well, thank you guys for coming on and discussing the Notebook with us.
Thank you for having us. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was great. And we'll love to have you guys again another time, hopefully for a less sappy movie.
Or more. I love tearing into it.
I know, but that is also divided too.
Oh, wow. Okay. We can definitely do that too. But until then, guys, thanks for listening and join us again next time for another Divided Film. Thanks a lot.